When I was younger, I wanted to be a music producer. I was very big into music, actually. I played the violin for a while. That was my first instrument I learned. After that, I went to the guitar. Then I did singing in school. Hated it because it was like choir singing, and I wasn't really a fan. Um, After that, I went to the drums. From the drums, I was captain of my drum line in high school. We competed in Festival Disney every year, and we got golden Mickeys and stuff like that. And I was very heavily like into music, like I said. My role model was Pharrell, and the fact that he was making his beats and stuff, I taught myself how to play the piano at like 8 or 9 years old. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I wanted to be a music producer. But then, actually, my cousin, she brought me along on a shoot that she was doing. I don't know what shoot it was, but then that's when I was first exposed to like broadcast and like the TV world and stuff like that. And it was really interesting and dope to kind of see her in her element and see her thoughts. Because as we were driving there, she was telling me everything that she wanted to do, and actually seeing it being executed was like mind opening. And I'm just like, I want to do this. When I first came to Post, I was a music major, and I played the violin, like I said, and I was in orchestra. And then at the end of it, I had a conversation with my violin instructor, and he was just like, because he thought I was a music minor or something, but I told him like I'm majoring in it, and then he was like, well, what are you minoring in? And I'm like, nothing. And then he was like, well, he was like determining that since you're such a great violin player, I wouldn't say that you need a piece of paper to say that. And he was like, a piece of paper, if you take it to an orchestra and you want to play for them, they're not going to see and say, oh, you have your bachelor's. You're in. They're going to want you to play it. Yeah. So he was like, for you to spend 4 years chasing behind a paper that really doesn't mean anything, he wouldn't suggest it. So that was kind of like the green light for me to be like, all right, changing my major. I switched to broadcast, and the people I was with, the classes I had, they were broadcast majors their freshman year, so they kind of had like the one up on me in a sense. But I really had to like devote my time. I would stay in PTV. I would just like, back then we had Final Cut, I think 8 or 9 or something like that. It wasn't 10, but I know it was a Final Cut, and we had the cameras that you had to put cassettes in to record. So we didn't have this whole digital memory card thing either. We had the rewind clips. Yeah, so if let's say like I started shooting and I stopped and I wanted to like go back to a certain part, I would have to like rewind it. We had this machine hooked up to the IMAX that would like copy all of that data from that cassette, and then you can save it as a movie or an MP4, and then we would edit it through there. But then luckily, that whole thing transitioned, and we all moved to Premiere, and we moved to SD cards and stuff like that. So in a sense, it was an obstacle at first because everyone had the one up on me and they knew what we were doing. But since they restarted in a sense and they kind of changed the system, we were all on the same playing field. I love to produce. I love to hear ideas, especially bring my peers' ideas to life. It's interesting to just start on a small scale and watching the whole thing come alive and like the end result of it. Personally, me, I was big off of Key and Peele, and I would always try to copy and mimic what they do because it would help me sharpen my skills. And once you start doing that, and once you start thinking like how they thinking, you put yourself in this whole different field, and you start thinking about different camera angles, lighting, and you really start to pay attention to what really matters in production. My half brother Kadeem, him and I, we tried to take on that role when it came to campus, and we reenacted one of Key and Peele's skits, the substitute teacher one. So many things happened by accident, but it went with the thing. Like when he threw the clipboard down and it broke, that was 100% accident, but it broke on cue. Some people laughed, but I'm just like, let's keep going. But it worked out.
When Akeem first picked up the camera, there wasn't any prejudgment from my standpoint because I didn't know anything about it because this is not my field. But I always thought it was dope because the camera doesn't lie. The camera tells all, and he wants to be a truth teller. Akeem has never been a dishonest person. I don't think he even lies well. So I I think for him to pick up a camera and want to show and be behind the scenes and capture certain moments of other people, I thought that was dope, man. It takes a very artistic person to be able to hold a camera. I think we, as people, we kind of look at the actors acting and say, wow, their job is hard, which it is, but imagine a person trying to capture that moment, capture that shot. So that was huge. When he decided that's what he wanted to do, I was like, wow, that's pretty intense. That's pretty major, and I know he's going to be successful in it.
The way I started thinking my sophomore and junior and senior year, it was just that, like, whatever I do now, next year I want to be thanking myself rather than next year being like, damn, I should have did it last year. My biggest goal is to be an executive producer of a TV show.
Of your own TV show? Or?
Yes, my own TV show or a TV show. A TV show can work, but if it's my TV show, that's even better. Right now, me and my brother Kwesi, we write a whole bunch of ideas down. We're actually working on his short movie called Oblivion. Well, it's a prologue to a web series. We're trying to see where we can go with that after. I'm also working on a couple short movies myself, one of them being called A Drop of Milk. It's about gentrification. It's a movie that I'm working on the side, and I'm going to really include all of my friends in it. I feel like working for CBS, working for 48 hours, and actually being on set, putting in the extensive hours and stuff like that is showing me how to really man and control a TV show in a sense, and how like a set and a production is supposed to be done. So I'm applying the skills I learned at work, and I'm gonna teach my friends as well. I'm trying to execute and make something and kind of build a platform for all of us that we can all stand on. Therefore, when we all excel into our own fields, Kadeem raps, Kwesi if he wants to direct, me producing, all of my other friends wherever they go, we all had that one platform that all brought us up together. That's the one thing that connects us all.
Oblivion was something that I actually wrote when I was 22 years old in college, in my dorm room, and the thought process of it was to shine a light on what love is. If I was to ask, how you'd view love as a little kid, you'd describe it to me one way. If you were to tell me as a grown adult how you describe love, you tell me something different. I just feel like in today's world, love is something that has kind of lost its way. It's kind of been distorted. Mm-hmm. So I've created a character, obviously called Cupid, who's living in this world now that he doesn't like the way love is being treated. So he's almost like a serial killer. Okay. I don't want to give too much information because it's not copyrighted yet. But I want to make sure that we tell the tale of how love is, and I feel like people are really judgmental when it comes to others. Like, we don't understand everyone's story. Yeah. Like, everyone got to where they were in their relationship before something, like hurt people. So I think we crucify others really, really quickly before we kind of understand, their thought process in a relationship.
Okay. So my first broadcast class was Broadcasting 12. And it was right in here. We walked in, we all sat down in a circle, and like I said, it was my first. Some people were already speaking, even though it was the first day, but they were speaking because they had class previously in the previous semesters. So I got in, I just kind of sat down, kind of just did my thing, and the first person that walked through the door is Benj. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was Benj's first class too. So he came in, and it was pretty interesting because it was a learning experience for everyone, I feel like. And then Benj really challenged me in terms of thinking outside the box and always doing something different. Anytime we had a project, even though it kind of seemed far-fetched, Benj was always just like, let's do it, execute it. And if you didn't know how to execute, then I would meet with him like maybe after class and stuff and be like, hey Benj, can you like point me in the right direction? And we would really sit down, we would really brainstorm and really try to figure out how we can really make our ideas reality. Nicole Stevens also taught me what it's like to be on set. I remember she made me a director, and I looked at her like she was crazy. She was like, yeah, you're directing this. And for me to give the orders and cut to the canvas and stuff like that was pretty cool as well. And it really prepped me for when I graduated. It really prepped me for the real world, because that's, in a sense, what I do now. Jean Carla Musso is the best as well. She was great. I want to say her classes gave me total creative control, where I feel like Benj, when it came to ideas and stuff, it was like, yeah, let's do it and let's execute it. Ideas with Carla Musto changed into projects. So we would do like really big scale things. We did this show that was kind of like, it was based on a VH1 show. and it just included like millennials and stuff like that. And we were just talking about '90s TV shows, music, um, things from the '90s, what we love, why we're glad to be like a '90s kid and stuff like that. We were speaking about Britney Spears and the music videos and stuff like that.
Akeem worked at the TV studio, and we loved having him work here because he was so creative. I think I only worked with him in a class as his professor once early on, and still, a very creative student. He is focused on his own development as a broadcaster. I think that he takes great care with his work and his camera work. And, as a professor, you like to see that. You like to see that the student cares about getting more advanced in their skills. Well, the thing about Akeem was you always had the sense that he was a fast learner and that he liked to he really liked to get up to snuff on his own as well, not just in class, but on his own, on the various cameras and technology. And he was also, as I recall, he was helpful with other students on their projects, and that means a lot. I know that he helped out Brittany and some other students with their projects, and whenever you see that, you have an appreciation because it means that the student is thinking in a team spirit, and also helping other people develop their craft as well.
When you change I to we, even illness becomes wellness. It just goes to show you that it's a team thing. It's really a team thing. Even where I work with at CBS 48 Hours, my boss is very big in this industry. Her name is Susan Zarinsky, and even like without her team, 48 wouldn't be where it is now. We wouldn't be on the air for 30 plus years and stuff like that. It's all a team thing. If one person lacks, you have to make sure that everybody else will pick up on their downfall or pick up on their slack or anything like that. So getting to know who you're working with and getting to know their weaknesses, that's also what you have to do. One big project I've done, the runway show. That show was stressful. And because we gave everyone roles. We assigned everyone roles, and there was one kid in our class that never showed up. He hardly ever shows. So we kind of took that into account, and we were like, okay, he's not going to show. Let's do this, whatever. And everything was running smooth. Day of, everything's coming. We were running into some problems. Some people didn't charge some cameras and stuff, so we had to charge it 30 minutes before they were ready to walk and stuff. And then the kid shows up. And he's like, hey, what do you want me to do? And it's just like, we actually have somebody covering your role because we thought you weren't going to come. So now that he was there, we kind of gave him his role. But it was annoying because he didn't know what to do. He wasn't there for any of the rehearsals, any of the practices, any of our meetings to kind of figure out how we were going to run. So it was kind of like fighting against stream. But we ended up making it work. I feel like comedy's easy because I'm around a whole bunch of clowns. Like, my circle is just a whole bunch of people that's funny. That's how I feel like my senior project that I did in 2016, I felt like that was really executed well because the actors were funny. That wasn't acting, that was them being themselves. And that's what kind of made it easier. Real student supposed. Okay, so when it started, I started writing the idea down in October. And it was actually our trip going to Six Flags. And I was just thinking about everybody I was on the bus with and how funny they were and stuff. And I'm just like, I can kind of see this happening. And what really made it set in stone is just going to my friend's room, seeing them play 2K, and seeing how aggressive people would get in 2K. And the thing is, like, I felt like everything always spiraled back to 2K. Like, you can beat somebody in the Pratt, and they'll be like, oh, but you can't beat me in 2K, though. Like, it always came back to 2K. So then I'm just like, what the hell? So then I thought of this, and I flipped the script. I'm like, what if people were playing 2K, and then they actually wanted to take it to the courts? And then two people I always know that bicker in 2K are Deontay and Lucas, 100%. And I know Lucas is funny when he puts on his Haitian accent. So then I was like, let me make this Haitian character named Henry, and let me keep Deontay the way that he is and have them clash. So those two stood by themselves, and they really did the thing. And then Alex, his African accent is hilarious as well. But he's also, I kind of made him this person where it's just that, like, his African accent, whenever he would complain about something, was funny. So I made his character like, all right, whenever you're nervous or whenever you don't like something, your African side will come out, like your African accent will come out. I literally just thought about my friends, and I was just like, yo, you fit here, you fit here, you fit here. We started shooting it in November, and honestly, we stopped shooting, and it was edited the day before I graduated. Yeah, and that was one episode. And when I was working on this with Benj, I had episodes. I had at least 7 or 8. And I'm just like, yeah, this is going to be fun. We started shooting in November. I'm like, wow, this episode could be done maybe like in 2 or 3 weeks. But then I wasn't thinking about the actors, their scheduling, what time they had finals, what else what's going on in their life, because you never know what's going on in somebody else's life. So I remember one time I wanted to shoot, and then Deontay told me he had like something, he had to go back home for the weekend or something, and that kind of like slowed us down. And usually, being in that aspect, when you come across like an obstacle or something throws you off balance, you don't want to move. You're kind of like staggered, and you kind of want to figure out what's next. What I should have done and recorded every scene that Deontay wasn't in, and I would have saved time. But I was just like, man, Deontay's not here. We can't do anything without him, and that was my mistake. But after that, some of the cast members, they had like problems, and I didn't want them to work with each other because I didn't want it to be awkward, and I didn't want them to ruin my vision. So I had to like write some people out. If you notice, one of the characters that's in the beginning, since it was shot in November, he doesn't come back in the show. He actually leaves a voicemail. And I actually saw him in the staircase, and I'm like, bro, I need you to say this voicemail, act like you're talking to this character, and just say you can't make it, something came up, and I'm going to edit it. And I feel like watching it, you'll never pick up on that. But now that I told you that, you would be like, wow, that's what happened. That's why he's out there.
Everybody has a respect for Akeem, and that's something you just feel. It's the energy you feel about him. Like, listen, that dude is gonna be something one day. You don't know what he's gonna be, but he wears so many hats that he could literally be anything, and that's dope.
I wasn't really involved in broadcast. I was more involved on campus. Like when I looked at my resume, I saw all these things I did on campus, but it was like, why would anybody else in the TV world want to hire me? So what did I have to speak for myself? So my senior year, I really made a change. That's when I really started to execute and jump on projects, because don't think like you can do everything by yourself. At some point, I thought that my sophomore and junior year, but then when I realized that I started working with a team, you just have to make sure that all of your ideas don't collide. Because if they collide, then you're not going to make any progress. It's going to be like you're walking backwards rather than progressing forward. So don't lose faith. Work together in teams. Always help out. Because even if you're doing a commercial or like a small project for someone else, that's also experience that you're gaining for yourself. And by the time you want to graduate, you want to make sure you have a good portfolio that stands for itself, that shows somebody like, this is what I did on campus, this is what I learned, and this is what I'm about. You need to have great composure. It will get stressful. This industry is very tiring. It's very competitive. You may think that you want to quit. You may think that your degree means nothing. You may think that, damn, maybe I should have done radio instead of TV. Just have an idea of what you want to do now. If you want to produce, produce. If you want to write, write now. If you want to be an actor, act now. Don't wait till later. Because if you keep waiting till later, that time will never come. Don't set any limits, because if you're limiting yourself, you're going to limit greatness.